Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Stories of Service podcast. Ordinary people who do extraordinary work. And I am your host, but I thought this would be a great opportunity for you guys all to see my co host today. Just for a quick second, her name is Jada Carpenter. All y'all listening on the audio can't see her, but she is on camera right now. And my guest today, Alfredo, is helping keeping her a little bit entertained. But also, this is our holiday episode. So as you see, myself and Alfredo are very, very festive. So we want to give everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, because I won't see y'all. We'll also have another couple podcasts before the end of the year, but this is our holiday episode. But anyway, just thought I'd get her on here real quick so y'all can see the Jada. And you guys know I talk about a lot about her on social media. So, and with that, my wonderful production manager and husband will go ahead and grab Jada and we will start the show.
Sure.
Yep.
Hi, Jada.
Hi, Jada. All right, Alfredo. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Alfredo, and then we're going to get right into the broadcast. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh,
Mr.
Sure, no
Yes. Mr. Alfredo Torres is the Virginia Transition Assistance Program Regional Coordinator for the Central and Western Region and the Candidate Coordinator for the Higher Vets Now Fellowship Program, which is the first DoD-approved state Skillbridge program. He has experience in professional, military, and educational career coaching, mentoring, and counseling. He's also a 13-year Navy veteran who has a very eclectic and varied post-military career, holding positions as a radio personality, EMT, academic advisor, safety inspector, blogger, military admissions advisor, shipboard instructor, adjunct professor, podcast host, and stage manager for a nationally known concert venue in Richmond, Virginia. He is the luminary of the VTAP team with one of the most compelling life journeys, as you will find. A passionate, thorough communicator who blends humor, reality, and staunch veterans advocacy into a unique blend of transition assistance. He also holds nationally recognized certifications, including Global Career Development Facilitator, Certified Career Service Provider, Virginia Career Coach, Certified Federal Job Search Trainer, Certified Professional Resume Writer, and holds a Master Advisor Certificate from Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, and a master's degree in lifespan and digital communications from Old Dominion University. Welcome, Alfredo.
Welcome. Thank you. I feel very welcome. How's it going?
It's going great. It's so good to see you. And I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to do this podcast today. And so thank you so much for making some time to talk with us today. And we already have a cute couple people who wanted to say hi. So we've got Zendra Glimpf, who says happy holidays from Hawaii.
Hello, Zendra. Happy holidays.
Yep. And then we've got Kevin Wathawa, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong. And he says happy holidays from Washington State.
Oh God, Kevin? What part of Washington State are you in? I was stationed out there in Everett, and I love it out there. I wish I could still be there.
Yeah, I was also stationed out there in Bremerton. So and my husband's from there as well. So he's from he grew up in SeaTac, like near the airport. And then when I met him, he was living in Paulsbo, and I was living in Bremerton. So, yep, he was in Geoduck fishing out there. So,
nice.
Yep.
I love that out there. I really do. It's absolutely beautiful.
He definitely identifies too as a person from the Pac Northwest for sure. So. But let's talk about you. I want to get a little bit of...
Hold on, because these lights are distracting me, so I'm going to switch over.
Take the hats off, and now we're going to switch into the podcast more and the less of the holiday fun. But want to start off just by asking you, what got you interested in joining the Navy? Give us a little bit of information. Oh, now we got another one. Another holiday hat. Actually, you've got me being in the holiday hat department. But what got you interested in a life of service and joining the military?
Convenience and opportunity. I always say nobody. There's always exceptions, but the majority of people don't join because of patriotism or that feeling of something bigger than yourself. The majority, I mean, maybe after 9/11 they did, but not now. People join because of convenience. They join because of opportunity. They join because they have nothing better to do. As you stay in, you develop all of that patriotism and that life of service and that call to serve. That all comes later. I joined because I graduated from Siena College in 1990 and I couldn't find a job. That's why I joined. The intent was to do 4 years enlisted, have the Navy pay for law school, finish off my time, become an officer, finish off my time as a JAG officer, and then go into law. That was the plan. Of course,
wow,
it didn't work out that way.
And I think you bring up a great point, because everybody thinks that you join from this place of, like you said, staunch patriotism and, oh my gosh, I want to be a part of a cause bigger than myself. But sometimes, I can relate to that. You're just this lost kid that doesn't have any direction. And then the military gives you that direction.
Yeah.
So you enlisted in the Navy. What was your rating?
I started as a yeoman.
Oh, wow.
And I went on submarines. I avoided all of the cool ratings, quote unquote, the manly ratings, the bosun mates and the machinist mates, because I was going to become an officer. So I went to become a yeoman. The goal was that if I made second class within 4 years, I would switch over to legalman, which would help me
become a lawyer.
Yeah, help me become a lawyer. And so the easiest way to switch to legalman, because you had to be an E5 to hold that rating, was to start as a yeoman. So I went to A school in Meridian, Mississippi, the armpit of the South. And there I had the option to go to submarine school. And I took it. So I scored high enough where I could have went pretty much wherever I wanted to, but because I volunteered for submarine duty, I decided to. They sent me to Groton, Connecticut, to go and learn how to be on subs, and then I went to Norfolk, Virginia on my first sub, USS Finback.
Wow, what a journey! What was it like for you overall? Because you were in for a total of 13 years. How would you describe your Navy enlisted career?
Up and down. I had the joy of serving on submarines, which I loved. The best part, my first ex-wife ruined my credit, so I lost my submarine Dolphin insignia, which in the Navy, in the military, Navy. In the Navy, you get your warfare pins, and before they became mandatory for everybody, they were volunteer pins. You volunteered to get them, and the submarine ones were the only ones that were mandatory. For you to serve on submarines, you had to become submarine qualified. And it was a brotherhood at the time. There were no women on board. And it was the biggest, it was the most camaraderie I ever felt in my life.
Wow.
And so it was wonderful. Then my ex-wife ruined my credit, lost my clearance, which I had in, I always say, the super secret squirrel, top secret clearance. So they yanked that because of bad credit.
Sure.
And I cross-rated to aviation storekeeper. And that's how I ended up in Washington State. I became an AK as a second class. The problem with that was that I was up for first, and I was in a rating that I knew nothing about. And so in the Navy, you take tests up until, to make the next, from E4 to E7, you take a test. And then if you advance, when you're in E7, you go before board, but you got to make board first. And so I was up for E6, first class, and I was in a new rating, so there was no way I could make it.
Right.
And then I messed up, went to captain's mast, became a third class again, made second class again. Then I became a diabetic, and Navy said thanks, but no thanks.
But what you've done, though, is that you've taken that service now and you're using that experience and you're now giving back to the veteran community. But you've did a whole slew of other jobs after the one that you're in now. Like
Sure.
you've done all these different jobs. I mean, gosh, what did you do right after the Navy?
Radio.
Okay.
I was in radio down in Hampton Roads. That's how I ended up getting stuck in Norfolk, which is what I say. I never say I lived in Norfolk. I always say I was stuck in Norfolk. But yeah, once I was on, I was put in medical on medical hold, waiting for the board to sit there and say, all right, get out. I started working part-time on a radio station down there, and radio was always my dream from when I was a kid. So I started doing that part-time, and then once the Navy finally gave me my medical discharge, I went into it full-time, and just couldn't make any money doing it. That's why I didn't stay.
That's why you didn't stick with it. But it's interesting that you did it while you were still serving, and so you started that path of working on the outside even while you were on the inside. And trying to just define for yourself what you were going to do next.
Well, being on medical hold, you get sent to a medical detachment, a temporary detachment. I forget what they call it now. But they take you off the ship, and then
TPU. Yep.
That's it. Right. That's right. TPU. And so they send you there, and you're just kind of putzing around waiting for your med board results for them to tell you that, you're going to get out. And so that was kind of my Skillbridge before Skillbridge.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I was not everybody gets that kind of luxury. I was assigned to the Wisconsin, the battleship. And so I just kind of hung out there. I could show up every 4 days. Is literally every fourth day is when I showed up to stand watch from noon to 3. And
what a blessing.
Yeah,
what a blessing.
Right. So I, it was 3 days of no uniform, no shaving. If your fourth day fell on a Sunday, it was off, because the Sunday was closed. So yeah, it was a nice way out.
I love it. And that's the kinds of stuff that nobody talks about, or just those opportunities sometimes that you get through the military with the right chain of command and the right leadership. When people know you're on your way out and you need to start prepping, there are good people that will help you. And wanted to say, Jose Velasquez, he is on here. He just said, hey, friends, you two are awesome. And then he said, radio pays, and said, no one ever.
That's a fact. You know what? Props to Jose, because let me tell you, the fact that he's trying to carve out a living in radio at his age. Radio's a young person's game, because radio is it pays you enough to have 4 roommates and live off of pizza, as you're starting. And that was the problem with me, is I got into it when I was in my 30s, and at that point I had what I call big people bills. I had child support and stuff like that, so I couldn't live off of the $8 an hour I was getting paid at the beginning of it. So Howard Stern money doesn't exist for the majority of the people, Right.
Absolutely. What did you do then? You're like, okay, I can't do a career in radio. What do I pivot to next?
Well, I was working radio. I was working part-time as an EMT. I had qualified as an EMT before, when I was up at Pax River, before I moved to Norfolk. So I worked security at a concert venue down in Norfolk called the Norva, and I was the staff EMT.
Wow,
which was great, because people would sit there. You don't see it now because I look like a Puerto Rican Santa Claus now, but at the time I could look very intimidating. And so people would always come up to me like, oh, what are you gonna do? And I would say, I'm gonna do nothing. You see those guys over there? they're going to beat the crap out of you. And then I'm going to fix you up because I'm the EMT. So, it's when I was throwing people out. So it's like, you could just leave nicely, or I can help you leave after I fix you. Either way, you're going to leave. So, but I did that part-time. That once radio was just a done deal, I switched from EMT to security to production work. And then I started setting up concerts, working, pushing boxes, rigging lights, all that kind of stuff, for concerts, for plays.
Yeah, I saw that you were a stage manager, and
Yeah,
I was a stage manager as well in college. So
I the National. I opened up the National in 2007.
wow.
I was a stage manager there, and got to work intimately with some really, really cool people. People like Willie Nelson, the Neville brothers, 311. Just some incredible acts that came there during their first 6 months. So
what an interesting career. You've just seen everything from the entertainment industry to the medical field to the military. Wow. It's just interesting to listen to your story. And then didn't you also do stand-up for a little while?
Yeah.
A little?
This is the way I'll say about stand-up. And I'll say it because if my boy, I don't know if Jose Roman is listening, but if he is and he hears me say that I did stand-up, he'll call me out in a heartbeat. No, a lot of people, because of my the show that I was on when I was on radio, I did 3 shows. The first one that I was on was called the Mike and Bob Show. It was on 96X down in Norfolk, Virginia, in Hampton Roads. And we used to call it was an afternoon show, and we would call it the morning show for the drunk and unemployed. And so I was, I did a lot of comedy that way. And I incorporate humor into everything I do. And as a bucket list thing, I did do 5 minutes of stand-up at the Funny Bone down in Virginia Beach.
Wow.
And when I was an adjunct instructor, one of the things that I did was I taught public speaking. And away from my classes to earn extra credit is that we would go to the ODU Improv Club. And they would do extra credit by doing stand-up. And so, of course, I never told anybody to do anything that I didn't do. So I would do stand-up there. But as far as trying to make a living doing stand-up, I'm not that
right. well, way to go to set the example. And, I have a friend, I can't remember her last name, but she's a vet, Robin. Somebody will probably chime in here from the veteran community that knows her, but she's done a lot of stuff with the Veterans Arts Partnership program. And, stand-up is a really good place to, even if you're not going to do it professionally, but to just take classes for public speaking and for communicating. So I myself am going to take an improv class in March. I've committed I've already paid for it. I paid for it on Black Friday last year and never used it. And then I know I'm moving in July, so I have it on my bucket list as well to at least try it. I know it's going to be incredibly hard.
There's so many programs out there where you could do it for free.
Well, it was because I just got sucked into a Black Friday deal. It's on one of those improv places here in Norfolk. And I actually followed up, not using it after a year, and said, oh my gosh, can I still use this? And the guy got back to me and said, we got classes in January and we got one in March. And so I'm going to start in March. And I'm really excited about it because
it's wonderful. It's wonderful. The thing about comedy, the thing about improv is you speak from inside. Okay, because nothing's written. It's you give me a scenario and bam, I tell a story. It allows you that freedom, especially when you're doing it and you don't. There's an audience there, but you don't know them. There's no judging. Who are these people if they judged anyway?
Right.
The other thing is that you could be whoever you want. So it allows you to get outside of yourself because unfortunately, a lot of us don't like us. We don't like ourselves. We don't like what we've become. We're upset that we didn't grow up to be the happily married couple with 2.5 children and the dog and the White House with the picket fence. And I know I felt that way. I was in my 40s. I was sleeping on people's couches. It's like that's not what I envisioned. Twice divorced. I was supposed to be, married with children. I wasn't supposed to be, begging people to sleep on their couch. So
those painful experiences, though, I think they've made you who you are.
Sure.
Haven't they?
Of course. Of course. Your experiences make you who you are, regardless of whether they're painful or pleasant.
Right.
It's a matter of how you go about it. And I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point where I always tell people I'm very open about my mental issues, right? And I tell people I was suicidal. I was going to kill myself. Twice I went to do it. And both times they were interventions. Somebody reached out to me and made me think. And I always said to myself, if out of however many billions of people are on this planet right now, if I could literally say, that I am one of the top 10 worst off, physically one of the top 10 worst off people on the planet out of the 5 or 7 billion, whatever the hell the number is now, then I had the right to kill myself. But if I wasn't, then there was somebody worse off than me who's struggling to make it. And
wow, that's powerful.
And how could I sit there and say, okay, you know what? My life sucks so bad, I'm going to off myself. So, 2 times I was there. I was like, screw this. But even after somebody intervened, where I was still kind of hemming and hawing, that's the thought that would pass my mind.
What was it that you did to put out even a sign that somebody knew to intervene? Because a lot of times when people commit suicide, a lot of people around them say, "Oh, there were no signs. We had no idea."
There's always signs. You just got to know to look for them. Well, with the first time, so I called my ex-wife to tell the kids I loved them. That was it. I got into a fight with my girlfriend at the time. I was going through the divorce. I had the girlfriend and it was a volatile situation. We never should have dated. I was losing my children. The Navy was forcing me out. And I wasn't done with the military. So it just all came to a head. And I got to a fight with my girlfriend and I said, F this, and hung up on her. And then I called my ex-wife and said, tell the kids I love them. So that was it. She answered the phone. I said, tell the kids I love them. And I hung up. And then what I went on my way to do, just to give you the full thing, was I got dressed up in my uniform, put on my medals, got in my truck, and I was on my way to go drive to a field where I was going to do carbon monoxide. And the 2 times that I was gonna commit suicide, the one thing that I did was I wasn't gonna shoot myself or slit my throat and bleed. I wouldn't want anybody to have to deal with that. It was bad enough to come across a body with half a face, or guts and blood all over there. They didn't need that. So I was on my way, and I guess my ex-wife called my sister, and my sister called me, and she said to me, and it was funny because I was crying. Not funny now, but I was crying, and I'm listening to a song which plays into this at the time. And my sister, she's on the phone and she's crying, and she goes, "You know what? I'm not even mad at you that you're gonna go do it. I'm mad at you that you didn't call to say goodbye." My sister and I are very close. We've lost both our parents at a young age, and then 3 of our brothers have passed away. 2 of them passed away at this point. 1 has passed away since then. And and her and I are close. And that's what she said. She said, I can't believe you didn't even call me to say goodbye. And so then, we talked, and I promised her I wasn't going to do anything that day. And as I hung up, there's a song called It's a Shame About Ray by a group called the Lemonheads. And there's a line in that song that came up just as I hung up with my sister. And the line was, if I make it through today. And if you know anything about 12-step programs, of which I have family members who are in 12-step programs, it's always about just for today.
Yep.
Okay. If you can't make it just for today, then make it just for this hour. If not just for this hour, just for this minute, whatever it takes. And so that line came up, if I make it through today. And I just kept rewinding that line as I was driving. If I make it through today, if I make it through today, if I make it through today. And that became kind of my mantra. And I turned around and I went back home and cried, passed out from exhaustion, mental exhaustion. In my uniform, that's the whole nine. And then I woke up and I said, okay, I made it past. So what are you going to do?
Wow. Gosh, there's so few people, I think, that get to that point. And for you to rise up from that, it's so powerful. And it really...
people say it's powerful, but I don't know if it is.
Yeah.
That's for you to say. It's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use any of my stories to say I'm above anybody or
correct.
I think that's BS.
I do too.
There are people suffering just as much as I am, if not more so, who are struggling. I'll tell you something, and this is the way I look at it for me. When I hear people talk about, give you an example, the Kennedys. What a tragic family. Oh my God, look at what happened to the Kennedys. You're talking about what happened to a family over a period of 7 decades. Guess what? Everybody's got tragedy over 7 decades.
Yep. You're absolutely right, Alfredo. And I think that's the funny thing, is that we think that when somebody shares a story like yours, we think that it's somehow special.
No.
And really, we all have crap. We all have trauma. We all have struggle. The only difference is that you're comfortable talking about it publicly. I'm comfortable talking about it publicly.
The only difference is that I'm not famous and you're not famous. That's the only difference. Look, pick the person who's fighting cancer. Mm-hmm. Oh, they're so brave if they're famous. Who gives a crap? They're brave.
Right.
My brother, I had 2 brothers who fought cancer.
Right.
Nobody knows who they are. Nobody gives a crap about them. But all of a sudden, some famous person, oh, they fought cancer, they died. Oh, what a fight. Yeah, shut the hell up.
Yeah. And I think what that message is that, you just have to keep on keeping on. And the best part about life is the connections that you make and what you make of what you have. Right. So if you're living with chronic pain, or you're living with cancer, or whatever your circumstances are, there is a way to either focus on all the crap that's bad and wallow in it and obsess over it, or move the heck on.
And that's what I think. I think it's move on, because I grew up in the South Bronx in the late 70s, early 80s, when it was horrible, I guess, because you know what? I didn't know any different.
Mm-hmm.
It was growing up. And when you're growing up, you're growing up. That's it. I didn't know people had swimming pools. I didn't know people had backyards to play in. We played stickball in the middle of the street. We played games like Roundup, where we literally it was 2 teams that would go after each other and beat each other up.
And some people that come from those kinds of backgrounds, they end up being some of the happiest people, because
you don't know any better.
Right.
Literally, you don't. And so even today, you know, like I told you, I don't know if we started. I'm in pain today. I'm like, I'm having a bad pain day.
That's my buddy Brian. He says that's a righteous shirt.
Thank you, brother. It's one of 53 I got.
Yeah.
That are like this. But like today I'm in pain. I don't know what it's like to not be in pain.
Right. And you were such a mentor to me about that. As I was going through the pain of this, I really appreciate all the guidance and kind of the way you were just kind of like, deal with it, kind of. And that's sometimes what you need to hear. Like, I never liked those therapists that wouldn't hold you accountable, or the people that I would talk to. Some of my closest friends are the mentors that would call me on my crap and would tell me that I was, feeling too sorry for myself or having a pity party. I kind of want to hear that, because I think it helps me think, it puts things in perspective, and helps me be more grateful and live a life of gratitude. And so along those lines, you've done all these different things. What got you back into the veteran space and what you're doing now on LinkedIn?
The post 9/11 GI Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when that came out, that gave me a new lease on life. I didn't have the GI Bill at first because I had a bachelor's. I was going to have Navy pay for it. I at the time, the Montgomery GI Bill we had to pay in,
Right?
And I wasn't gonna. I also didn't know that I could use it for a master's. So when the post 9/11 GI Bill came out, I found out about it, then found out I was eligible for the full run because I was in long enough after 9/11.
Correct. Yep.
So I said, okay, this is the break. This is what I needed, and it's going to be a struggle. But I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to go and get another bachelor's because it had been so long since I had been out of school. I graduated in 1990, my first degree.
Yep.
So now it's 2008, and I'm going back to school. So I said I'm going to go back, get a second bachelor's, which it's not going to take me 4 years. Only took me a year and a half. And then I'm going to go get my master's. And it was the smartest thing I ever did, because going back to school as a 40-something in a classroom with a bunch of 18-year-olds, I'm carrying a stack of books because that's what we did. Carried our textbooks and carried our notebooks. They're all sitting there on Facebook on their smartphones. And I'm just going crazy. Like, what the hell is all this? This is not college. So it took me a while to get back to that, but I found out I was a way better student as a more mature,
Right, more mature
adult,
person.
right. And then I went to get my master's, and then when I got my master's, I got my first big boy job. I was in my 40s.
That's awesome.
and I got my first big boy job, and it was as an admissions counselor, military admissions counselor for for-profit school.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I started to deal with veterans.
And deepen into the veteran space.
Right. It was helping them get into school. After a year and a half of that, I became a career counselor for the school, helping all students, but concentrating on the military.
Wow.
And this is where I started to develop an understanding for what they were going through, even though I went through it myself. But this is where I started to get the realization that everybody's transition is different, and this is, I've been here 5, 6, 7. It's about 7 years ago, so we're starting to see some resources come out more and more. Because when I got out in 2005, there was very little. And then after a year and a half of doing the career counseling, I got fired. And I got fired because I'm me. And what you get from me and what you appreciate, some of the softer people don't.
Right.
And so somebody complained that I was being too mean to them. And so I got fired. But luckily I had applied for the job I got today. which was
Wow.
working for the Commonwealth of Virginia. And what was funny is that I was applying for a job with the Virginia Department of Veteran Services, which was to help me find was to help with our state benefits, and I didn't even know I got state benefits.
Wow.
I
Really?
had no idea. My ex-boss from when I was doing admissions found out about the job, and he's called me Big Al, and he goes, "Hey, Big Al, I got this. There's this job out there. I think you'd be perfect for it. Well, what do you think, Big Al? I think you'd be great." And I read it, and I was like, "This, this is nice." At this point now, I started to feel that call to service that we talk about. I want to start to give back, and I could make okay money. And I said, "What's this for?" He goes, "Yeah, you'd be working for the Commonwealth." I said, "Doing what?" He said, "Part of the Department of Veteran Services." I said, "What does that do?" It's part of your benefits. I said, "Are you kidding me? I got benefits?" And then I started doing this, and I had already had experience as a divisional career counselor in the Navy, and then as a peer counselor when I was working on my master's. And
are you talking about state benefits for veterans? Like if you're a resident of Virginia, there's certain benefits.
Yes.
So, like what?
There's two sets of benefits. You get
Uh-huh.
your federal benefits, which
Got
are a guaranteed home loan, the GI Bill.
Sure.
Disability is actually a federal benefit. Then you get state benefits, and the state benefits vary from state to state.
What's an example of a state benefit?
The Military Medic and Corpsmen program, which is a unique program that it only exists in Virginia currently right now, where if you are a medical personnel who served, or a military spouse who works in the military, who works in the medical field, we have connections to help you get a medical job with just about every top medical facility in the state. That's one. Our Skillbridge program, the Higher Vets Now Fellowship program, which I'm the candidate coordinator, that was the first state Skillbridge umbrella program. We were the only ones who had that as a benefit.
How interesting. Huh.
Things like if you're 100% disabled, property tax, you don't pay that. That's a state benefit. If VMISDEP, which is a program where if you're 90% disabled, your spouse or your children can get up to 48 months of attending a school, a Virginia school for free. So that means they can go to ODU, William and Mary, Virginia Tech, George Mason, any Virginia school, any of the community colleges, 48 months for free. And if the disability is combat related, they'll get a stipend. So that's a state benefit. There are several others.
I've heard of state benefits, and I think you're right. I've never been through a TAP program, and I hope that when my time comes and I go through TAP, my husband and I will have to decide what state we want to retire in, and which state has the best opportunities in terms of cost of living and where we want, all those things.
Yeah, and you got to, when you don't look at if you're open, because some people are going back to California, they're going. Texans are going back to Texas.
Sure,
you can't convince a Texan to go anywhere.
Right.
But if you're open to where you're going to live, look at the state benefits.
Yeah.
If you're not looking at them, you're leaving money on the table.
That's smart. Yep.
And speaking of money, don't just look at the money. Nobody joined the military because of the pay.
Right.
It's all the benefits. People like to slam Virginia because they say, they tax their retirement. Virginia's was voted the number one state for military retirees.
Really?
Yes. The number one state for military retirees. And everyone's complaining about paying taxes.
I had heard too that the new governor supposedly is gonna.
I'm not speaking about that.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I can only hope. It doesn't affect me. I'm not a retiree, but
right.
I can only hope.
Yes. I've just heard that. I don't know. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that we who are active duty, especially, we just don't take the time to research, or we don't do until we're right there at that transition point. And I think it's really important that you're doing what you're doing to try to educate people now, early on, when they're maybe like myself, maybe 3-4 years out, to start thinking about what it is that you really want to do post-military, what state makes the most sense to retire to, what are the benefits in that state. And you've been doing this for quite a number of years. So what got you interested in down the path of, okay, I'm doing this professionally. Now I'm going to take this to an online platform. I'm going to take this to LinkedIn, and I'm going to use that platform as part of my work.
Two things. One was the pandemic, where I had to work from home. And the second was Michael Quinn from Higher Military.
Yep, Higher Military.
I've known Michael Quinn for a while. Great guy. And he sees me, and what you see here is me. This isn't a gimmick. This isn't hamming up for the camera. What you read, what you see, that's me. Okay. I wear paisley. I have a pirate coat. I have top hats over here. You think hold on 1 second. Here's one of my top hats right here.
I love it. Love it. Love
Hold
it.
on,
Love it.
I gotta get this back on. But yeah, this is one of my and this is a paisley one too. If I get close, you can see the paisley on.
Oh yeah, I see it. I see it. That's great.
So I got 2 top hats. The other one is anyway, I got cowboy hats, and I walk around like this, and I walk around singing monkey songs. Not songs about monkeys, but by the band The Monkees. And this is me.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a gimmick. And I'm at a point in my life where it's like, this is what I'm going to be.
This is who you are.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. You're living in your passion. So similar to Jennifer Klein, to Barbie the Welder, some of the other guests I've had on. You're living in your purpose. Just like, I can't see who said it, because sometimes if you're not friends with me on LinkedIn, I can't see who it is, but someone said, what are you trained to do? What do you see yourself doing all day, every day? And that's,
are they asking me?
I don't know. I can't tell, because the punctuation's not there.
What LinkedIn user?
Yes. And she also said the same, or he said, love the hat.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it, LinkedIn user. I will say I knew who you were.
Yes.
If you're asking, what am I trained to do? I'm trained to do exactly what I do.
Right, which
is a career counselor, which is a career coach. If you're asking, if you're just saying, what are you trained to do? What are you? Now, you said something, and this will all come in together here in a second. You said something about being 4 years out, right? And the problem with us is as far in the military as far as we are when it comes to being.
This is the transition hacker.
Oh, okay. What's up, dude? So as here you go. We do think far in the military. We just don't think about life after the military. Okay, when you come in as a 01 or as an E1, you're thinking about making rank.
Yep.
You're thinking about
that's all you're thinking about.
Right, and you're thinking about moving up,
training,
and you're training, and okay, what classes do I need to go? What collateral duties do I need to have?
Mm-hmm.
What buttons do I need to push so that I can make chief or senior chief, or I could make lieutenant commander, commander, right? But you don't think, okay, what do I need to do when I'm done?
You don't.
So now you said something, and here we're going to tie it together. You said something about being 4 years out, and a lot of people at 4 years out are still thinking, I can make senior chief or master chief, or I could make commander or captain. Yeah, you can. But also, you can make civilian, C1,
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
No, please.
You go. I was just going to say, and that was also what inspired me to start deepening into some of this stuff. Well, number one, I had the time. The job I'm in right now gave me an opportunity to deepen into this stuff. I don't know if my next job I'll continue to do this as much, but I'm also getting to that point like where you are, where it's like, what do you want to do to live in your purpose to give back? And it's amazing to hear your story about how you've taken all of your life experiences, not just the military, but your career in radio, your career as a security guard, kind of your tough kind of like hold accountable, no holds barred personality. You've been able to take all of that and use that as a counselor and a mentor. And the thing that I also love is that, number one, you're not a coach. You're not trying to start a business. You're not doing this so that this is going to lead to this very profitable entity. You're doing this because you absolutely love what you're doing. And I love it every time I see when you have those, set up an appointment with me, let's talk. And I'm just like, I just love it. Every time I see that, Alfredo, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's just great. He's putting himself out there. He's offering himself up as a mentor. It's just it's so refreshing.
Here's what I'm gonna say to all that purpose, mentor, all those buzzwords, living your best life. That's all bullshit. It's all BS.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's all BS. Here's what it is. It comes down to you being a good person or not. I had a horrible transition. End of story. I was on the verge of killing myself. End of story. I slept on people's couches. End of story. Okay? I don't think you should go through that. If I have information that can help you, why would I not give it to you?
Absolutely.
I tell people, call me at any time. And a lot of people say that, but I mean it.
I know you do.
Why? Because when I was, because I've laid on the floor in the fetal position at 3 a.m, begging God to take me, because I was too much of a coward to kill myself that day. Begging God, please take me. It sucks. It sucks.
It does.
Oh, and the second time I went to do it, I'm diabetic. I took a handful of pills and now here's the thing with diabetes, for those of you who don't know it, if you have high blood sugar, they say it'll kill you over the long haul, but you have low blood sugar, that's it'll kill you tonight. Because once your blood sugar drops, you go into diabetic coma. Okay. So if I take a handful of pills, my blood sugar drops to 10. I was living by myself at the time. Nobody, it would have been one of those things where nobody would have found me for days.
Wow.
And I was done. And this is when somebody reached out to me. A wonderful, wonderful friend from college. I had called a bunch of people earlier that night as I felt myself kind of slipping into it. And nobody was there. And then it became another 3 a.m. where I'm in the fetal position. Oh, God, take me. You know what, God, F it. You're not going to take me. Grabbed the medicine I poured. I don't know. I must have had 20 pills in my hand, which would have dropped my blood sugar down to nothing. I would have been dead instantly as soon as it all hit my system. And then this young lady who I went to college with called me. And we talked for probably an hour and a half. And that's what stopped me. And
wow.
Then, and it was, he said something about how we don't see. No, you see it. You know. You see people. You hear the words they use. You see, if you're around them enough. Let me put it that way. If you're around them enough, you know. If I was to do it tonight, or God forbid you were to do it tonight, I wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. We don't hang out enough.
Right.
But the people who you're close to in your life, God forbid your husband. There's no way you're not going to know that there's something wrong with your husband. There's no way I'm not going to know there's something wrong with my girlfriend.
Yep. Absolutely.
Your best friends, your family members, if you're around them enough, they start acting a little different. And that's when you intervene.
Yep.
That's when you
You do.
intervene. It's again, there's a lot of people use a lot of kind words and and all $10 words. And no, man, it's just being a decent person, paying
Right.
attention. That's all. And that's why, to bring it back to the other point that you said about we're not in it to make money. No. Look, I'm talking to you to save your life. How am I going to charge you money for that?
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep you from getting homeless. How am I going to charge you money for that?
Well, I think that there just needs to be more resources like that out there. I know when I was going through my really dark fetal position moments, if it wasn't for the help of the 12-step groups, I don't know where I would be. I mean, that was what got me through things. Just being able to hear and really the perspective, what it was is that I'd hear other people's shares in those 12-step rooms. And I got the same thing that we were talking about earlier, where I was like, oh my God, everybody goes through this stuff. Just nobody talks about it. And I mean, it was just
exactly it.
And that's what I really got out of those meetings more than anything else, was the idea that, like, I wasn't this anomaly because I had so much pain. Everyone has pain.
Everybody. Yeah. And the funny part is funny. Real funny. But the funny part about it is everybody knows it.
I know.
Okay. And there's still this culture of you can't talk about it.
And you have to have a perfect life, and you have to put the perfect photos on social media, and everything has to be well produced. And it's almost like I call it fake vulnerability. And I see it a lot online, where somebody will share something about how their struggle and everything else. And it scratches the surface. And I know, and I don't want to judge other people's stories. So I think to myself, well, maybe that's just as deep as they can go. But then sometimes there's that more cynical side of me that goes, I think they're just doing this to get more attention and more shares. And that can't be why you do it. You can't be in it for that game, because people see through that anyway. And so, and I'll say that I just wish there were more people out there who would be willing to dive into these issues like I see you do.
But why? Here's the thing. This is a frustrating thing for me. Because you know what? If everybody did what I did, then so what?
Well, I think people would know that they weren't alone, and they would know that, like, how normal it is. It would lift some. You don't think so? It would lift some of the stigma.
No. You got to have the right amount of people. You can't have everybody, because what happens is that if everybody can do it, then why am I going to do it? At some point it becomes watered down. It's like one of the reasons I switched in transition to talking about the issues I talk about is because who's going to come to me to talk about resumes? Who's going to come to me to talk about interview techniques? I'm certified to do that.
Sure.
I'm a certified professional resume writer. I went and learned, and I took the test and got certified. But there's 8 billion people out there. Not 8 billion. I mean, there's tons of resources out there.
Right.
Both free and paid. So why are you going to come to me? And then it's subjective to boot.
Yeah.
So if you don't like what I'm saying, you can say, he's full of shit. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. I don't know how your podcast runs. And don't tell me that we can curse, because then it's all out there. But they're going to say you're full of crap and move on, because they don't like the words you're saying. So if everybody, it's not about everybody saying, hey, I want to commit suicide. It's about 5 people saying it. And then the other 8,000 realizing that they're not alone.
That's a great way to see it. I don't think I saw it that way until you said that, but you're right. And it was hard for me to put that in perspective. I want to get to some of this. We got a lot of comments, so here we go. The transition hacker says, love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
And I don't know, this is another LinkedIn user. It might be Transition Hacker. That's powerful sage wisdom from Alfredo.
Thank you.
Cassandra Burns, she says, this, exclamation mark. And I read these, by the way, for the people listening on audio. People who believe in you is most important. And then Zendra Glimpse says paying attention in terms of, I think, what we were talking about with the suicide.
I wish my kids would pay attention.
And she said, exactly. Everyone has pain. And then another LinkedIn user has a long one, says, I agree. If everyone did it, meaning share, we would add to the confusion of who should we listen to now? There are 44,000 Sea of Goodwill nonprofits, and we still have 22. And they're talking, I think, suicides a day among veterans. And we still have homeless veterans.
Sure. We call it drowning in the sea of goodwill. What happens is all of this is subjective, okay? Because we're all different people, okay? And there's all different things triggering us. So you become paralyzed because this person's saying this person's saying that. Who do I turn to? Who's right? Who's wrong? And oh my God. Or you become numb to it. Mm-hmm. There's so many people telling you that you're effed up that you're like, all right, yeah, so what? Okay, I'm effed up. Everybody's effed up. It does nothing. It means nothing. But what you're going through, what you have gone through, what I have gone through are real. And they should mean something. Yeah. If everywhere you turn, there was somebody talking about mental health, and we do need more people. We just don't need everybody. Okay.
Right.
We just need everybody to understand that they're not alone, but we don't need everybody talking about it.
I agree.
So, I don't even.
I think my point was earlier, and I see it so much more now that we have social media, is that when I was going through all these things, off and on, we had social media. I had Facebook back then. But I don't think that mental health was something that people shared on Facebook. Instead, I would see these perfect pictures of people's perfect lives. And I would say, well, why isn't my life perfect? Sure. Why isn't life? And I would compare. I would do what all those things you do in life. Instead of going from where you were to where you are today, which is what I do now, I would do the horrible things about, oh gosh, I hear people do it about their podcasts. Like they'll say, oh my God, my podcast isn't getting enough downloads. And it's like, compared to what? I don't do that anymore.
It's ego. It's ego.
It's so
it's
stupid.
What it is. And it's this society. Of course you go on, who the hell's going to bitch on Facebook? Who's going to sit there and say, I was walking this, I was on my way to work and this cab hit a puddle and it ruined my $500.
Nobody wants to hear about that.
Who's going to say it? I went in and my boss started chewing my ass out. And then I had a pen. Nobody wants to hear that. It's funny. You see the person who's on vacation in Puerto Rico and they're like, oh, look at me on the beach. Oh, that's great.
And everyone loves it. Comment.
What you don't see is that they busted their ass for the for 11 months, scripting and
so
saving
they could get
to
that
do
vacation.
Nobody shows you the bad.
No,
nobody. And
right.
So to sit there and look at that's one of the reasons I like LinkedIn. And I don't post much on other social media. Is because LinkedIn tends to be toward business, except for the veteran community, which they tend to deal with being as positive as possible, versus Facebook or Twitter or any of those other venomous stuff. I post on Facebook under another name because of my radio career. I tend to be a little crass, but all I do on Facebook is I post music stuff because I'm a big music fan. I post my Paisley Friday pictures that I do on I do on LinkedIn. And every night I say good night moon, and I say that as a tribute to my children since I wasn't able to raise them. Even when I was on radio, I would say, good night, God bless, and to my children, don't forget Daddy loves you. And I say that so that if my kids, and I have good relationship with them now, but I didn't for a long time. If my kids ever came looking for me and I was dead, it was so that they could ask anybody about me, and they always knew that I always had my kids in my thoughts and prayers. So even today, even though today the good night moon is for them, you know, the old "we're all sleeping under the same moon" garbage.
Oh, that's great. Wow. Well, I got one more comment, and then we'll wrap this up with a couple final questions. Yeah.
Sure.
Anne Train, she says, we can't compare ourselves to others, only from where we were before.
100%. And I want to say a special shout out to Anne. She put out a wonderful post on LinkedIn today dealing with thanking people, and she thanked me as one of the people that she said had an impact on her. And thank you for saying that. We all have impact on people. All of us impact people. It's just that most people never know.
Right.
And I'll tell you this quick story, just so that to tell you about the impact that we have. I had to get off Facebook years ago because of the negativity was just driving me insane. And I had a large Facebook following because of people who knew me from radio. And I told everybody, okay, look, I'm leaving Facebook in a week. And a young lady reached out. And she said this to me. Now, mind you, I'd been off radio at that point 7 years. And she said, Alfredo, I'm sorry to see you go, but I wanted to tell you this quick story. You don't know this, but you saved my life. I had called in to your show. I was going to commit suicide, and I wanted to hear a song. It was a song that I was going to kill myself to. And you heard something in my voice, and you stayed on the phone with me for 25 minutes. 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that. And you showed me that somebody could care. And now today I have 2 beautiful daughters, and I'm happily married, and blah, 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 blah. And I never would have known any of that if you hadn't taken the time to talk to me. And so I first of all, I was overwhelmed. And then I said, I'm sorry. I don't remember that conversation. And she said, you weren't supposed to. To you, it was just you being you. You weren't the one in need. I was. And because you were you, and you took time for somebody who was nobody, mind you, I was never, I wasn't a big radio DJ, though I was to her. Some big radio guy. I was. Right. I've always said I'm just a dude. No matter whatever I do, I'm just a dude. And she said, you wouldn't have known. I was just a caller. But you took the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it really shows that, like, you'll just never know. You never really know. Just like you said, be a good person. Live your life in a way that you would want to be. You would want, like I always say, just treat people and try to show up in the world like the person that you'd want to be there for, or you'd want that person to be there for you. Because that's all you can really do each day.
Now, one thing I will say this is I'm no saint. Okay. I wasn't always the person I am today. I grew up in a time where, guys were scumbags. Call it what it is, life changes you as you grow older and you grow wiser and you realize that you did some stupid things and that you did some hurtful things and that you probably weren't very smart. You took some stupid chances. And as you feel your mortality, which you do as you get older, and this is where you change or you don't. And so for those of you who are listening, who feel that you've done things that are bad or that are horrible or that you can't be forgiven for, which a lot of us in the military have done. a lot of us in the military have done, hurt people, kill people, not rushed in to save somebody. It's a lot of these are burdens. They're burdens, and it's easy for people to hear your stuff, your burdens, and quickly judge you. Screw that. Don't let them judge you. Understand that whoever you were, if you're not happy with that, you can change, and you can become better, and you should. You should. That's the only way we can save the next generation, quote unquote, is by telling them that, having gone through that, and there's always some lessons that they have to learn on their own, and you can't begrudge them that,
Right.
So I don't know if that was profound or not.
No, it's absolutely correct. No, I'm just listening and taking it all in. So we're going to go ahead and just wrap it up. But before we do, is there anything else you'd like to say to people to close it out before we wrap it up?
Yeah, Paisley on. And I'll tell you what Paisley on means, because I'm sure a lot of people don't. For those of you who are listening who don't know me, I have this thing called Paisley Friday. I love Paisley, period. I love Paisley. And the reason I love Paisley is because Paisley makes you smile. Look at this shirt. Look at this. Tell me you're not smiling right now. Of course you are. Why? Because Paisley is a pattern that makes you smile. So with that being said, I started Paisley Friday. Paisley Friday was done so that we can go into the weekend with a smile. And people who see my Paisley shirts will smile. And I have Paisley shoes and Paisley jackets and a Paisley pirate coat. I have all this stuff, right? And it's to make people smile. So when I say Paisley on, smile. Smile on. Look at the good in life. Look at the good in people. Look at the good in yourself. And try to spread that. Try to spread that good. We all have good in us. I'm a firm believer in that. And so try to spread the good. Try to smile. If you can smile, you'll infect people in a good way. Not like in a Navy foreign port drunk way.
I love it. I love it. All right. I'm going to, if you don't want mind just hanging out for about a minute or so, I'm going to meet you in the backstage and I'm going to go on solo real quick. I want to thank everyone for joining today. This has been an amazing episode. I know we went a little over an hour, but I think it was time well spent. I've got a couple more podcasts coming up next week. Very, very couple special guests. One is a expert on leadership. He's written an amazing book. You'll hear more about it this weekend. I'll put out the promo. And then on Wednesday, I have a very dear friend of mine who's coming on, who's part of a veterans nonprofit. So with that, I hope you guys have an amazing Christmas. This will be my last podcast before the Christmas holiday. Again, happy holidays if Christmas isn't what you celebrate. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. I know I've learned a lot. You have a wonderful evening, and I'll talk to you all later. Good night, everyone.